Hey guys! So it's a beautiful day and I thought I would take advantage of the natural light that is in my living room. So welcome to a new part of my apartment. So I had been thinking about remaking some of my older videos. One, because a lot of them have gotten buried and they're kind of hard to find. Two, because they were very early on in my vlogging career and so they're not the best. And also because a lot of them are cut short because they're only 5 minutes. And then Troublemaker, who is a lovely person, and I have been freaking her out the past couple days by interacting with her, so ha! You got mentioned in a vlog, was posting about how she's trying flutes and isn't really sure what to do, and I thought I would remake that video, because I know it was kind of rushed, and this way I can talk more about it. Plus, it is 2 years later, and I have a lot more experience. So, the first thing to do when you're trying a flute is figure out what you need. I mean, there's a million different kinds of flutes, and there's a million different categories of flutes. There's student flutes, there's intermediate flutes, there's like low-line professionals, there's upper-line professionals, there's handmade, and a lot of these overlap. So you kind of have to figure out what you're stepping up to, and then how much you can pay. Keep in mind that if you're going to be a professional musician, at some point you will need a handmade instrument. You don't need it right away. If you don't have the money, there's ways to finance things. I'm not the expert on that, and I don't want to steer you wrong anyway, so I'm not going to talk about that. But handmade flutes are expensive, I'm well aware, and it's something that we have to deal with if you want to be a professional musician. That being said, if you don't need a handmade instrument to do what you want to do. A low-line professional, or even an intermediate, or like basically an open hole flute will do you really well if you just want to play in community ensembles and things like that. But anyway, once you figured out a budget and figured out the kind of flute you're looking for, then you have to narrow it down, because there's like 4 million flute makers, as we all know, and they all are different, and how are you supposed to know? And so the best way to do that is to go somewhere like Flute Specialists of New York, J.L. Smith, Flute World, Carolyn Nussbaum, like places that are flute specialty stores, and try a bunch of things. And then you get to narrow it down. And so when you're trying all these things, you have to kind of try to remove all of your bias. Because I went in hating Powell. And I still don't especially like Powell flutes, but I don't hate them as much as I did when I went in. But anyway, you're going to want to bring someone with you, a parent that knows you're playing really well, a teacher, a student friend, a friend who is also a student, that's what I meant to say, someone who knows you're playing and also knows flute so that they can help you narrow things down. And so you're going to get like probably 20 to 30 instruments thrown at you over the course of a day trialing. So you have to keep things straight. So bring a notebook and take good notes. Do you like how the keys feel? Do you like the response that you're getting? Do you like the sound that you're getting? What don't you like? Do you think that a different head joint would work that you just didn't have the opportunity to try? There's a lot of things that you have to keep in mind. And during that, during this like session, you're not necessarily gonna buy a flute. It's really just to narrow down your options, figure out what you really want to focus in on, and then you start trying out all the options. So when I did it, I tried basically everything Flute World had in the handmade and upper line professional range. And what you do when you try a flute is you try everything on it. You try high, quiet things, low, loud things, articulated things, soft, like legato things, and see what works the best. Obviously, any new flute is gonna need a little bit of getting used to, but the things that you're looking for are a level of comfort in the keywork and tuning, and ability to change color. So to do that, you have to do the same thing on every flute. So pick 2 or 3 excerpts that kind of test the whole range of the instrument So Daphnis, Mendelssohn Scherzo, and like Leonore or Brahms 4, like some really standard excerpts, or excerpts from your pieces if you are more comfortable doing that. It doesn't really matter. But you want contrasting things. And try everything with the same stuff. That way you have a point of reference for everything, because one might be really, really good at helping you play the Daphnis solo, but you can't articulate for your life. And the other one might be fantastic articulation, but hell if you can play high and soft. And that gives you an idea of what the flutes are like. So once you have an idea of which makers you like, what kind of head joints you're interested in, then you start narrowing it down. This is obviously not all in one day. If you're lucky and have the ability to go to Boston or wherever the makers are, a lot of them are in Boston. A lot of the American makers have shops in Boston. So if you are lucky to go to the makers directly, that's the best option, because then you can try basically everything they have, because that's where they make the damn things. And so then you're going to want to try multiple bodies and like as many head joints as you physically can. A lot of places will have different head joint cuts. Powell is a really good example of that because they name theirs. Because there's Venti and there's Soloist and there's Philharmonic, I think. I don't know Powell's range super well, but you want to try all the different cuts with all the different bodies and see whether anything clicks. If it does, great, keep that in mind, but make sure that you aren't committing to anything until you've tried everything. Obviously, there's going to be a point where you find something that you love, and if that sticks with you the whole time, then that's the flute you want. The wand chooses the wizard thing. But I didn't find my flute until the last day of my trials. So you can't rule anything out until you're completely certain. With head joints, it's very, very difficult because every head joint is handmade and hand cut, and even the same cut is different. So if you narrow down to a cut that you like, try different head joints in that cut, and see what happens. See if there's one that just like is magic. And with head joints, once you find a body that you like, with head joints you want range of color. And obviously, it has to be good intonation, and you want it to react quickly, and you want articulation to be clear, but if it's a head joint that you can't get all the ranges of color that you need, then it's not worth buying, even if it has fantastic articulation and fantastic response. That's the word I was looking for. So, like, for example, a couple days ago I was trying La Finesse, and they each had this beautiful color, but it was only one color. One of them was super dark and gorgeous and rich, but when I tried to do something light and fun and playful, it just didn't respond well. And the other one did the light, playful stuff beautifully, but when I wanted the rich, intense sound that some of my rep requires, just couldn't do it. And that's not to say they're not bad head joints. That they are bad head joints, they just didn't work for me. So that's another thing. Just because a maker has a reputation doesn't mean it has to work for you. I can't play Brannon's, basically. I like the bodies, but any head joint that Brandon produces, including La Finesse, don't work for me. It's just a thing. So don't rule anything out based on prejudice or what you think you should like. You really have to go try things and see what you actually like. And keep in mind that your tastes change. And that's not because your brain changes what you think you like. It's because your playing changes. Your playing matures. And that's one of the reasons why I'm looking for a new head joint right now, is I used to use a ton of air. It used to be a really big, brassy sound, and now I'm moving more towards a refined, smaller sound that I have color in. and so I'm starting to use head joints that are round cut instead of square cut and a lot smaller with a gold riser, whereas before I never wanted any gold near my flute. So again, just be flexible. Don't let your biases color your trial period. And I hope this is helpful. I know trying flutes can be really scary. It's also super, super fun. And I hope that this can help you a little bit. If you guys want to know anything more or want to know more about certain brands, though keep in mind that these are all my opinions, so you might have a different experience. Or if you want suggestions for certain kinds of instruments, which I've been answering for years, you can comment on YouTube, I guess, but you can also send me asks on Tumblr and all that jazz, like always. I hope you guys have a good week, and I will see you next week.